Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and welcome to another WAM Headlines show. We are going to go through quite a few stories today, and first of all, as I've mentioned before, this is where I do several short, what I call Freedom Minute updates, and I will open it and I'll close it, and after, don't go away, I will still be here, and I will be taking questions later on, but of course, you know, this takes live editing, all that kind of stuff, which is not fun. I'll have to admit that I don't enjoy doing the live editing. It's so many things that can go wrong, but of course it's live. But I like the results, and the results are that I'm able to cover a lot more topics than usual because it takes a lot more work to do these really big in-depth reports that I'll do anyways, and then I'll have these ready to go to put up as separate little reports on different stories that no one's talking about, or maybe not as many people are talking about, or not in the right context. Anyway, so I will go into quite a few stories today. I think I got 4 lined up that I have ready here. And yeah, so basically, if you're just tuning in, I open them up, I close them off, and then that's it. I'm still here, though, and I will be taking questions shortly. So let's see what we got here. And by the way, the part I like about doing this is talking with people afterwards, because I actually enjoy talking with our viewers and our supporters. It means a lot to be able to talk to so many great people out there all around the world. Last time we had people in Zambia, through Canada, the United States, Britain, Poland, all sorts of places. So that's always good to see. So anyway, time to go into the first story. Okay, got this ready. Okay. Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here for another Freedom Minute update. And now, Corey Feldman was stabbed in the stomach by a complete stranger who then took off. The attack happened in Los Angeles by Ventura Boulevard when the former child star was sitting in his car, and he had a security guard with him when what he called a wolf pack came up to the car, opened the door, and stabbed him with something. According to Feldman, the security was distracted at the time. So he wrote, or according to the LAPD, Feldman drove himself to the hospital and is in stable condition. Now, he wrote on Twitter a few things, and first he said, "I'm in the hospital. I was attacked tonight. A man opened my car door and stabbed me with something. Please say prayers for us. Thank God it was only myself and my security in the car when 3 men approached. While security was distracted with a car pulled up and attacked. I'm okay." He also wrote this tweet here. LAPD are currently investigating the case as an attempted homicide. I have had mounting threats on all SM platforms by this vile wolf pack, and this, I'm sure, is a result of those negative actions. I have reason to believe it's all connected. Enough is enough. How sick are these people? Now, there's no evidence yet that the LAPD is investigating the case, but of course Feldman has claimed he lives in fear. According to Feldman, a truck attempted to run him over late last year. The info in this case is still developing, but should we assume it's a coincidence that he has been calling out disgusting satanic Hollywood pedophiles and then someone stabs him with an unknown object? I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but let's just settle on the fact that it's strange for now. Feldman's movie project is well underway, and hopefully some sick people can be exposed. I guess that's all we can really say about this until we get further updates. But thanks for joining us for another Freedom Minute update. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right, let's see. I'm going to go into a few other ones. For those just tuning in, I open up this short video, then I close it, and I keep talking to people. I'm still here. Don't go anywhere. We got someone named Everald Owen from Kingston, Jamaica. All right, got some Jamaicans with us. For those going into the gun stuff and everything, I will be going into that later on in this video. I got another person from Africa here. Daryl Lecor said Bitcoin went from Lambo to donkey. Yeah, at the moment it is not the best situation, but this is quite healthy for a market to recover over a period of time. It can't just be all straight up, or else it's not a healthy market. We'll go into that in a bit. And Timaholic says, look into Denver's housing market, bro. I have looked into it. We did a video, I think, last year on the Denver housing market, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll continue to go into it. If there's something worth updating, we'll definitely jump into that. Lorraine Weymouth from UK, hello. All right. Oh, in Brooklyn, New York, Danny Djokovic. All right. Djokovic. Isn't there a famous poker player or something with that last name? And Guatemala. All right. Okay, on to the next video, or on to the next news story. Have it loaded up on my computer here. Make sure this is all good. All right. Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here for another Freedom Minute update. Now, there will be no curiosity, no enjoyment of the process of life. All competing pleasures will be destroyed. But always, do not forget this, Winston, always there will be the intoxication of power, constantly increasing and constantly growing subtler. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. That is a quote from Orwell's 1984, and we have reached above and beyond that now, unfortunately, prevalent step-by-step guide to totalitarianism and complete coercive collectivist enslavement. We've spoken about technocracy and its centralized takeover in China. Well, it's getting worse. Jaywalkers in China are being caught on camera via facial recognition and then sent fines over text message. You heard that right. The government artificial intelligence is creating a RoboCop-type state where CCTV cameras watch your every move and steal your money for victimless crimes. In the city of Shenzhen, police have set up AI-powered boards by crossings. If you jaywalk, a CCTV camera will scan your face and flash it up on the huge screens for all to see, according to the South China Morning Post. As this article goes on to say, if that wasn't embarrassing enough, there are now plans to ping offenders' phones with quick-fire fines as soon as they violate the grim rule. The company behind this move, Intellifusion, is talking with mobile phone companies and social media platforms about enforcement. It's also talking with WeChat, which is China's most popular messaging app with more than 1 billion users. And I quote, "Jaywalking has always been an issue in China," Wang Jun, Intellifusion's director of marketing solutions, told SCMP. "A combination of technology and psychology can greatly reduce instances of jaywalking and will prevent repeat offenses. In the 10 months to February this year, a whopping 13,930 jaywalkers had their mugs displayed on the screen at one busy crossing," Shenzhen police announced last month. The move is part of a bigger surveillance push in China to track local citizens, and it's being powered by a network of 170 million CCTV cameras, many of which are fitted with AI, including face recognition tech. China plans to install another 400 million security cameras in the next 3 years, according to the BBC. So there you go. A boot stamping on a human face forever. This is all part of the extortion racket to keep government on their feet enough to control the slaves on the farm. Under the guise of convenience and safety, they shall shame a subservient populace into further servitude as they steal their money and criminalize them. They either stand in line in the communist country whose president just declared himself president for life, or they face the iron fist of the police state and the surveillance state. Is this what the far left and far right want? The destruction of individual liberties and freedoms for so-called temporary security? Well, as the saying goes, you'll get neither. Thanks for joining us for another Freedom Minute update. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right, now to move on to another one. Oh man, I know it's totally insane. This is what 2018 looks like. Imagine what 2019 looks like. We got Chicago, Illinois. Charles Gilbert, good to see you. Let's see. Just looking through some of these quick messages. I have to say later on we might need some super chats to get the questions to the top, because this thing does get a little crazy, and it's the only thing that really supports me at this point. Okay, we got Wisconsin here. Okay, Steph Fran. Novak. There's Connecticut. Daryl LaCours. Tennis player. Oh, I think the Djokovic. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. Yeah, now I'm getting it. Okay, so we're gonna go on to our next story right away. Oh, Clifford Savage. I'm in South Africa. Very interesting. Very interesting situations unfolding there right now. Rami G says North Africa. Anyway, okay, so we are going to get into the next story. I got it loaded up here. Oh, it just gets crazier and crazier all the time. All right, here's a Canadian story. Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here for another Freedom Minute update. Now, so I was getting my usual laughs looking at the latest Trudeau news, and I came across something quite funny. Of course, Trudeau unknowingly identified as the first feminist Prime Minister of Canada. Well, let's see how that's working out for him. As this Global News article says, self-described feminist PM Trudeau is losing female support. The Prime Minister that thinks everyone wants a selfie with him and wants to look at his stupid socks is losing the female voter fast. Despite calling the latest Canadian budget equality and growth, as this article says, it was the people kind comment and then the India trip, complete with elite family costumes and dancing. You could feel the tide changing. Now a recent IPSOS poll shows if an election was held today, the Conservatives would win. The real surprise is who is leaving the party. Women, the middle class, and millennials. Noting that these are the exact demographics they were targeting with their latest budget. And then just looking at people like Climate Barbie, Catherine McKenna, just called climate change sexist. Is this surprising? How condescending and annoying is it to have a prime minister talk down to you like they're the principal of a school and you're a third grader? And with what's going on with Catherine McKenna, the Climate Barbie, I mean, this is insane. And let's be real. Do women really like a cuck? A guy who acts like, acts feminine and beta? Well, statistically, no. But here's the thing. Right after reading this article, I came across this article. The Globe and Mail published an article with the title, Justin Trudeau is losing the male voter. Can the PM win him back? First of all, no. Trudeau has basically called all men pigs and sends the vast majority of men running and shaking their heads as they're stereotyped as evil and abusive collectively. How is that supposed to cater to men? It's absurd. Trudeau has shot himself in the foot, as so many of us predicted. He shunned the cannabis legalization crowd, pushing big government regulations on the market that make it even worse than a lot of the previous prohibition rules. And then on top of that, he pushed men and women away by being generally creepy. So, weed and women, that's mainly what got him elected. He says we should say people kind instead of mankind. Feminists claim he was mansplaining. So he says he was joking, falsely of course. Feminists say he shouldn't joke about such a thing and that we should say people kind. This is the insane world we currently live in. Let's not forget, Harper had around the same terrible approval rating in his 9th year. The point is, men and women are ditching Trudeau. Though it's hate speech to say men and women, so technically I should be saying Z, Zix, and Zer. All the same, politics is dead. The insanity has reached peak craziness, and people are sick of it. And rightly so. Rule yourself. Stop falling for the words of politicians, regardless of the party. Regardless if they're better than the other guy. It's all one big club, and you ain't in it. May individualism and liberty prevail. Thanks for joining us for another Freedom Minute update, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right. I skipped out a few things there. That it's like I mentioned before, it's really hard to live edit these things. You end up, I'm looking at one screen over here for what I wrote, and then I'm looking at this screen over here to click on this little tiny button that's super microscopic to go into the next scene, because for some reason this OBS program I'm using to do these live streams and edit live makes the button super tiny, just to make it as difficult as possible. Anyway. So for those just tuning in, I'm doing a bunch of Freedom Minute updates. So I go over news stories, I open it up, I close it off, but I'm still here. Don't go anywhere. I will be taking questions shortly. I just got to get this last final story loaded up. And this one is a frustrating one, to say the least. All right. Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here for another Freedom Minute update, and so we are now expected to regurgitate the totalitarian thoughts of a confused old man and a bunch of kids who have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Former U.S. Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens, who is now 97 years old, claimed in an op-ed that the Second Amendment needs to be repealed. So again, we've reached peak crazy. Let's totally ignore that statistically places with concealed carry and open carry have a far lower violent crime rate than places with gun control. Let's ignore that the overwhelming majority of mass shootings happen in gun-free zones. Let's ignore that the gun homicide rate overwhelmingly stems from places like Chicago, Detroit, and other big cities where gun control reigns. I mean, the national homicide rate, the gun homicide rate on a national level, is mostly statistically made up of places that are gun-free zones. So, an old Nazi and a bunch of communist children... being used for political gain say we should ban guns and submit to the state's every wish. Isn't it interesting that the same kids that call Trump Hitler and hate police want only Trump and the police to have guns? This is insane. These kids don't even know how to use a can opener, and we are bowing down to them as our informative betters? Like Emma Gonzalez, who happens to be gay. Her parents fled from communist Cuba, a country that executed and shunned gays after seizing the guns. I'm not even going to go into David Hogg, whose story has changed several times. That's how you get banned from YouTube. Can kids please go back to eating Tide Pods and stop acting like they know stuff, because their emotions are a mess, and for that reason we should just give government all the power and lay down like apathetic slaves. This has gotten so incredibly out of hand. Well, meanwhile, NRA memberships are skyrocketing. Every time these people push these crazy views, more people buy guns, because this isn't the view of the majority of people. It's just hyped by the establishment. David Hogg claims the politicians are shaking due to his efforts. No, they couldn't be more happy. More control to them, less control to the populace. What can go wrong? Thanks for joining us for another live Freedom Minute update. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right. I do, for the sake of editing later, because I missed one image, I do want to quickly just show this last image, and I'm just going to cut it into the video when I put it back together after. Just to make it easier on me. Anyway, so I'm going to be taking questions and see how long that lasts. I'm not sure. Oh man, it's been a crazy few days, so I'm just finally moving and got to load everything up and basically move out tomorrow and the day after and the day after that, and it's going to be crazy. So another reason why I wanted to do all these live news stories, so I can cut them out after and put little, reports up for the next 2 days. I did a few videos with John Snyson yesterday outside, and there's some issue with the frequency of the microphone, so there's audio issues. Hopefully it doesn't turn out too bad. The video I posted earlier today on Deutsche Bank has a bit of a high-pitched buzz sound. Don't know how to get rid of it. I try my best to cut as much of it out as possible, but I don't know. There's not much I can do, but there's a lot of good information in the video. So if you can get past low frequency, little buzz, then they'll be fine. For guest says, hey from Niagara. Hope I didn't miss much. Well, you missed the news part, but you're just in time for the question period. So I will be taking a few questions from the audience, and hopefully my brain is working good enough after all this craziness. As you can see, my Christmas cups and mugs are still making the rounds because why not? Need my coffee. Send in your questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. So Rami G asks, why do they want war? The U.S. government, these gun control maniacs, it's all part of the same establishment anyway. It's like Trump calling himself small government and then, growing the size of the military industrial complex, which is the biggest globalist entity in the world beside the central banking system, and is a huge big government push for resources and control and servitude across the world, and saving the monetary system, of course, for a temporary period of time. They want war because they can control the populace if everyone's in fear. It's an easy way to basically take over, and under the guise of freedom and saving people, which it's the exact opposite. They use individuals as pawns to sacrifice for the king and the queen in the end, and then the people that are left are easily controlled and on their knees in the chains they revere. Mark A. Gagnon says, thoughts on Agenda 21. Okay, well, actually, it's interesting because I was going to do a report on it, but I figured the 4 videos were good enough. But there is a report by The Guardian today in the section called Cities, which is sponsored by the Rockefeller Foundation, talking about, and this is a headline, empty half of the earth of its humans. It's the only way to save the planet, by Kim Stanley Robinson. And he basically just goes into, climate change, carbon footprint, all that kind of stuff, and how we need to, just eugenics. We need to get rid of half the population, if not more. And it's the usual craziness that's pushed by these globalist control freaks, that they use the green agenda in order to basically try and convince people that we need to kill off half the planet, and statistically the overpopulation problem isn't actually that bad. The vast majority of Earth isn't colonized, I guess you could say. And it's really not a big problem as of yet, maybe for food reasons. So if the government stops getting involved in the markets and causing food shortages and all that kind of stuff, maybe we can, as individuals on a free market, adapt and grow more food and keep up with the demand, and that won't be an issue. But Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, the new Agenda 21, because they didn't get there on time because they thought people were stupider than they are, it is basically the push to depopulate and push people into big cities, into tiny houses, and basically tax our carbon footprint, like Canada with a carbon tax, and basically control people. There's a watershed developments. There's it goes on and on. We've done a lot of reports on it in the past, and it's quite extensive. It would take a really good in-depth report to really want to be able to properly break it down for everyone. We've interviewed a lot of people who talk about it. Patrick Wood. We've talked with Holly Swanson, Debbie Bacciagalupi, and several people who do a lot of work on this subject matter. Dan Happel, another member of Freedom Force International. By the way, now that I mentioned Freedom Force International, the Red Pill Expo is coming up on June 21st in Spokane, Washington. And here, let me just load up the link here. I'm going to post it in the chat box there. Okay. So one moment. I want to make sure I get the link right here. Okay. Live video. Gotta love it. Anyway. Okay, so I'm just gonna post it in the comments right now. So if you go to that link, you can buy tickets to the Red Pill Expo. Some very interesting speakers. Not even close to all the speakers listed on the main page yet. So what do you see for speakers? Doesn't even come close to how many amazing big name speakers are going to be coming out there. I'm not even on the list yet. Anyway, it's going to be a great time. We're trying to get Luke Rudowski and Dan Dix of Press for Truth and We Are Change, all that kind of stuff out there, and do panels and courses, and which would stretch into the 24th, I believe, of June too. Yeah, it's definitely going to be awesome. Deb Holtz asks about silver. We got a report or an interview coming up with Lior from, I think, Future Money Trends, I believe it's called, coming up soon that I'm looking forward to doing. We're going to be talking about silver. There's a lot of very interesting stuff to be talked about when it comes to silver and gold. It's preservation of value, wealth insurance, and silver is insanely undervalued right now. It's absolutely astonishing how undervalued it is. So we will be reporting on that shortly, and we will post a lot of stuff on that. I want to make sure that it's extensive. Silver, it's so insane trying to talk about it in short because there's so much to talk about with silver. So I want to save that for, the really in-depth reporting that we are going to be doing in the near future. Let's see. I'm just looking through some of these. I'm going to actually check STEEMIT real quick to see if anyone has commented on my STEEMIT post for this live stream. Again, go to steemit.com if you are there. Make sure to follow me at Josh Sigurdson. Let's see. There's stuff on Cardano. A guy named Omid Moa IIED on STEEMIT is asking me about Cardano. I am not the best expert at the Cardano cryptocurrency, so I'm not going to be able to answer whatever he wants to know about that. It's best going to someone else for that. Cardano, I've only briefly kind of looked at. I'm not like I said, I'm not a professional when it comes to that or an expert. Let's see. Just looking through some of this. Okay, so Mark A. Gagnon asks, do you think climate change is a hoax? Well, the climate always changes. Is there a slight, scientifically, greenhouse gases or whatever you want to call it does somewhat affect the weather, but minuscule compared to what the mainstream scientific community is telling people, minuscule compared to the government and all these major establishments, this push for the, green menace of communism. It's now a different color, right? It's not even close. The ice caps are melting on Mars and Jupiter's moon at the same time. There's no SUVs up there. One of the things that we did last year was we interviewed Lord Christopher Monckton, who had an insanely good study breaking down all of this. That's extensive, and I urge you to look at that video because I got 2 questions in edgewise with Lord Monckton as he explained this, because he had such a huge rundown of information on the study that he had peer-reviewed by some of the great scientists out there. The problem is, some scientists, I believe, maybe thought that they were right about this at one point, but one of the biggest things about the scientific community that's super difficult is that they are very stubborn. So if they're not getting paid to say one thing, then they're often being so stubborn that they refuse to admit that they were wrong and develop their views on something, because of course science is being able to question science, and that's how you come to conclusions in the scientific world. So that's a big issue there, and I think that it's going to come down to us being able to have a conversation about it without just being called a denier with all the Hitler connotations and all that. So that's very important. Anyway, we will, report on that further. We are going to be at the Red Pill Expo. I think Lord Moncton will be there again. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think he will be. So we will talk with him again, and I'll see if I can actually get a comment in. It was funny because I was at a barbecue with Lord Moncton shooting AR-15s with him. And there's J. Edward Griffin there and Robert Kiyosaki. And then there's Joel Salatin. And I'm like, oh, Joel Salatin's awesome. I wanted to ask him for an interview. So I go up to him and ask him if I could interview him at another, in a few days or something. And then Lord Moncton's like, don't expect it to be an actual interview. And I'm like, what? And Lord Moncton's like, yeah, well, you didn't ask very many questions. And I'm like, yeah, because you took like 30 minutes to get to the end of your point. I'm not going to interrupt you while you're still working on actually getting to the bottom line of what you're trying to say, or else then there's no point of you talking for the last 30 minutes. Anyway, one of the cool things was I got to rib Lord Moncton quite a few times, because the guy's a character. He was dressed in hooker boots and a cowboy hat and a cowboy costume, trying to look as absurd as possible in Montana, and walking around like that and shooting guns and everything. And then he's like got like this thick British accent of a lord. I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, he's like telling people, yeah, he's not interviewing. And it's like, yeah, because you don't stop talking. You just talk for a billion hours to get to your point. But of course it was a very extensive point. Anyway, let's see here. Climate change is real, but not as bad as they say. It's carbon. Well, I mean, the carbon tax issue is insane, because think about it. They are basically saying that in order to stop climate change, or carbon dioxide, which is good for plant life, by the way, methane isn't good for humans, and a lot of the gases and pollution that's in the air for breathing. But as for the earth itself, I mean, the highest period of carbon output has been the greatest, most transformative time in world history for nature and plant life and fauna and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's an important point to make. But they think stealing people's money, and basically it's a tax on everything, because everything that's imported, exported is taxed under a carbon tax, is going to save the environment. And then you look where that money's going. Follow the money. Cui bono, who benefits? It goes right to major corporations, banks, and etc. And big oil companies are supporting it. I mean, come on. This is an obvious scam. I thought like the left hated big monopolies, and then they support every idea that actually grows monopolies in size and scope at the hand of government, as it usually is, pushing small businesses out of the market through regulatory and tax burdens and stuff that they can't compete with, but these major corporations sure as hell can. It's absolutely insane. So let's see. And by the way, so many countries around the world, their economies are dependent on oil, so it's not exactly the smartest thing ever to absolutely decimate their economies. But again, there's always a cui bono kind of situation that comes out of all of these that's really important to focus on. Let's see. I'm just going to look at one of these comments here. Again, there's so many questions coming in. Definitely, super chats are very effective and definitely help me continue to put out a lot of information on a regular basis, because I do this 18 hours a day. I don't get a lot of sleep, and it's basically all day, every day, no free time. And unfortunately, in recent days, YouTube has wrecked us. Like, demonetized, and then even when it is monetized, the videos make about 2% almost, if that, of what they would have a couple years ago at the same viewership. So either way. And then they say our videos are not they're not proper, or they're not suitable for advertisers. They're inappropriate. It's inappropriate and controversial content, so advertisers don't want to advertise on it. So they demonetize us. Then you go on another channel and you see ads on that video. So YouTube's just taking all the money for themselves, and they're lying, saying that it's not advertiser friendly. Well, it is if they're doing it and making money, apparently. Anyway, it's getting really brutal. And Dan Dix of Press for Truth is having a really hard time. I urge you to check out Press for Truth and watch his videos. He's got an insane amount of subscribers, but he's getting less viewership on average than I am. And it makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't make any sense. He has great breakdowns, great videos. They need to get a second look. People need to support independent media, because it's the only way to break free from the propaganda cycle from the mainstream news and, of course, the public indoctrination camps we call schools. Whatever you want to call it. Anyway. Laura from Romania. Daryl Lacour says, YouTube is shit. Use another platform. Well, I do. I use DTube. I use all those, but because cryptocurrencies are in a bear market right now, everything's kind of, no one's really upvoting people. It's kind of everyone's holding on to their currency, which makes total sense. But yeah, it's been a little bit slower than usual. So yeah, I mean, it's bound to happen though. And why would you want to be spending all your cryptocurrencies when they go up in value? You'd much rather spend fiat, which goes down in value. Spend it while you can. The one good thing about YouTube, though, is that we reach audiences that are, outside of the echo chamber. It's so important when we're educating people to reach people outside the echo chamber. I know a few of those watching this video might have seen one of our videos once, and it brought them down a rabbit hole. Well, we can't do that in an echo chamber on, DTube, STEEMIT, or whatever. So they're great platforms, but it's really important we reach people outside of it. And on top of that, someone mentioned BitChute. BitChute is okay. I've tried it. It's a little confusing. A few errors popped up for me. I don't know. And then there's MeWe, which is another Facebook alternative, but it's very centralized. I wouldn't suggest it personally. Yeah, at the time it's better than Facebook, but it'll all go down the same route. We need to decentralize ourselves if we want to have, alternatives and solutions to these problems. For guesses, would you recommend waiting to buy my next bit of crypto to see what the market is doing, or just buy it now anyways, or instead just go with trusty silver? Well, it's always good for wealth insurance to look at gold and silver, but I'm not going to suggest anything or advise anything because it's wrong. But my personal opinion, because you can't predict markets, it's general human collective psychology. But my view on it personally is that cryptocurrencies are in a bear market and it could last a little bit longer. But overall, I think it's going to see a massive buy up and a massive adoption in the next year or two. I have no doubt that cryptocurrencies are all mostly going to be way above where they are today. But again, it's not about speculation. It's about what the uses for these cryptocurrencies are, which is to escape the central banking system and, even end war, because the central banking system benefits off of war. One of the big reasons that the military-industrial complex continues to push so strongly to cause all these issues perpetually in the world, to swoop in and be the savior to the problems they created in the first place. But I think that cryptocurrencies, if they have sound fundamental values, most of them don't, but a lot of the big ones do. I definitely suggest, as an individual, and via my opinion, I got to be very careful how I word things. It's not a bad time to look into cryptocurrencies, and not a bad time to get in. They could go lower than right now, but I think overall, a few months down the line, they're going to be a lot higher than they are now. So we'll see. We have been in a multi-month bear market, and we kind of are on the verge of the death cross. Now, last time we saw a death cross come close, the 200-day moving average found support on the death cross, which caused it like, I'm trying to think of where I can do this so you can see this properly and not be backwards. Okay, so you see this, and it's coming closer and closer. Well, last time, the 200-day moving average went that way. And it went up and caused a massive rally. And of course, we saw a massive correction. That's what happens when we have massive rallies like we have. It was overvalued. Frankly, it was overvalued. And when the banks are buying in and then selling off in such high quantities, there's a lot of market manipulation going on, a lot of unnatural action happening. So we shake out the lightweights, and overall, we talk about what the technology is used for in the long run and how we can benefit from it and change the world with it, which we really can. You can use a gun to slaughter a whole bunch of innocent people, and you could use that same gun to save a whole bunch of innocent people from being slaughtered. The same goes for the blockchain technology, where you can use blockchain to enslave humanity if centralized, and use blockchain to free people from the chains that enslave them via decentralization. It can go either way. It just depends on you as individuals understanding the difference between centralization and decentralization, and why we as individuals must self-govern and break free from the centralized structure that is basically enslaving us all into debt. So I think that's very important to point out. Dick Diddy says there is already a gold-backed crypto. Well, there's Anthem Gold, which I'm quite a fan of, and their security is quite amazing. So I think it's worth checking out Anthem Gold. Anthem Blanchard, of course, is a friend of mine, so I might be a little biased on that, but do your own due diligence and all that stuff. It all comes down to you as individuals deciding what you think is best for yourself. I can't tell you what to do, and I never want to tell you what to do. I want you to have the information accessible enough in order to make your own decisions properly and be self-sufficient and prepared in life. All right, so Daryl Lacour says, got 26 Litecoin today, 131 USD each. Yeah, it's pretty cheap for Litecoin. I've never been a huge fan of Litecoin, but I'm not against Litecoin. Litecoin has some good potential, and I do think it has been undervalued for a long time. Dick Diddy says, there is another gold-backed cryptocurrency besides Anthems, but I forget the name. I've heard of them, but the security protocol isn't good. I can't really say a whole bunch because I feel like some of the information I've been given was in private, so I don't want to go overboard. But the security protocol for Anthem Gold is quite astonishing, considering, a lot of us are worried about gold being seized. A lot of us are worried about not actually having the gold to back the asset or back the token. And this way, he has a system in place that he's putting in place where you can basically track it and know where it is and see it and all that kind of stuff. And I'll go into it further with him later and get more in depth with it. I'm not sure if I'm even supposed to be saying most of it. So he's a friend of mine, so he tells me interesting things about it. But the security protocol is quite great and is going to be a lot better than any other gold-backed cryptocurrency that I've seen thus far. I'll be 100% honest if I see one that's better. It all comes down to individual demand, and I think it's good for, something better to come along to push something that's great out of the market, because that's market innovation. That is what provides the best possibilities for us as individuals through the capitalistic free market, individual demand, incentive to actually innovate and create better things. We could save the world that way. It's much better than depending on government that creates all the problems to solve all the problems for us, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to be leaving right away. I've got to get a whole bunch of work done. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in today, though. It's, I'm a little bit tired as per usual. When am I not tired? It's a, reality of doing this stuff all day, every day, but I love doing it, and I love talking to all you people out there all over the world. It's great to be able to connect with so many interesting people, and a lot of people who have different views, and they debate me when they feel like it's right to debate me, and that's good. I appreciate that. I feel like that gets conversations going. Not so much of a fan of the trolls that just go in and call me names, but you know what? That provides good comedy too, and we all need a laugh in life, don't we? So, Slavmart says recap the breaking news. Well, basically, I just broke news on Corey Feldman earlier on in the video being stabbed today. I'll recap the fact that there's a new surveillance system in China that's going to use facial recognition technology to send people text messages for fines if they jaywalk and put their face on a gigantic screen to shame them. So that's insane. They're installing 400 million more CCTV cameras in China in the next 3 years, and they already have, I think, 170 million CCTV cameras. I also reported on how there's articles out there saying Justin Trudeau has lost the female vote. Meanwhile, he lost the male vote as well, and just had a bit of fun with that. And then also went on to talk about how the former U.S. Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens, who's now 97 years old, claims that the Second Amendment needs to be repealed. So all the fun craziness of this collectivist, coercive future that we unfortunately live in and aren't doing very much about it, are we? We need to start standing up a bit better and stand up to this insanity before we are completely animals on the farm, feeling like we got everything we need because we got grass in the field as we're led off to the slaughter with a smile on our face, which is something I say often because I feel like we are on that animal farm and we're not doing anything about it. It's very frustrating. That's why I do what I do. That's why I try to put out this information, so I can get people pissed off enough to actually try and be the change they wish to see as well. Hopefully it works. I don't know. It's the only way. We need to all be influenced as individuals. So Ghost Rider says, thanks, Josh. Thank you, Ghost Rider. Let's see. Nice job. Daryl, thank you. Thank you to Danny. Sorry, I'm just so distracted. There's comments popping up as I'm trying to read them, so I'm kind of getting confused. Anyway, so we're seeing fewer people watching right now anyway. People are starting to tune out because I did say I was going. So I'll just say goodbye for now, and I'll be posting lots more over the next few days. I got videos with John Snyson that are going up, nice HD videos, all that kind of fun. Dick Diddy. I am not drunk. I am very sober. I wish I could get drunk for once. That'd be cool. All the other people my age are out having fun, and here I am at home. But got to prepare for the future, right? So anyway, thank you for watching, everyone. I will be back with much more. I'm working on a million stories at the same time, and I'm working on a few, reports out and about, or as Americans make fun of Canadians saying, oot and a boot. To go and actually report on things in person. I'm a little jealous of Luke Rudowski of We Are Change and Jeff Berwick right now, because they were going to like the most dangerous parts of Africa to report on Somalia and stuff, and it's like, why am I not there? So I'm going to work on a few things like that in the near future and put my life in danger for all of your entertainment and, of course, education. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.